The novel opens in post-World War I Paris, introducing Jake Barnes, an American journalist emotionally adrift and physically wounded from the war. His circle of expatriate friends navigates life through parties, alcohol, and detachment, embodying the lost generation disillusioned and searching for meaning. They float through life with cynicism, numbed by the horrors they've seen and unsure how to rejoin a world that no longer makes sense. Paris becomes both a playground and a prison, a place where they escape from themselves but never find peace. Jake is in love with Lady Brett Ashley, a beautiful, charismatic Englishwoman. However, Jake's war injury has rendered him impotent, creating an emotional and physical chasm between them despite their deep affection. Their love is real but forever suspended in longing, like a cruel joke written by fate. Though they spend stolen moments together, each encounter is laced with frustration and emotional ache. Robert Cohn, a writer and outsider to the group, grows infatuated with Brett, disrupting the group's fragile dynamics. His earnestness and insecurity clash with the group's world-weariness. Though successful in boxing and publishing, Cohn's internal weakness and neediness isolate him. His obsession with Brett makes him blind to her indifference and the contempt it fosters among the others. Jake and Cohn escape to the French countryside for fishing, seeking simplicity and renewal. This trip contrasts with the decadence of city life and represents fleeting peace. In the rural stillness, they temporarily reconnect with nature and silence the noise of their lives. But even in tranquility, tension simmers. Cohn remains distracted by thoughts of Brett. Brett announces her engagement to Mike Campbell, a charming but perpetually drunk Scotsman. Their relationship is volatile, underscoring Brett's desperation for stability she cannot find. Mike knows Brett's past and accepts her unfaithfulness, but his resentment simmers beneath his charm. Their engagement is less about love and more about clinging to a broken idea of security. The group travels to Pamplona, Spain, for the running of the bulls and the fiesta. The journey represents both a literal and symbolic search for authenticity. Each character hopes Spain will provide clarity, escape, or meaning, but instead their flaws only intensify. The trip marks the beginning of emotional unraveling under the guise of celebration. In Pamplona, the characters are drawn into the wild, religious, and violent festival atmosphere. The bullfights become a central metaphor for masculinity, control, and mortality. The clash of danger and ceremony fascinates Jake, who finds a solemn beauty in the ritual. The fiesta, meanwhile, exposes cracks in everyone: too much wine, too many lies. Jake meets Pedro Romero, a young bullfighter embodying grace, bravery, and traditional masculinity. Brett is drawn to him, further complicating the group dynamic. Romero becomes an idealized figure for everyone, a man untouched by cynicism, confident in his art. His purity sharply contrasts with the other's moral fatigue and emotional chaos. When Cohn learns of Brett's interest in Romero, he becomes violent and irrational, striking out at Jake and others. His collapse illustrates the toxicity of his misplaced ideals. After confronting Brett and Romero, he beats Romero savagely in a jealous fury. Cohn's downward spiral alienates him completely, and he soon departs in shame. Brett and Romero begin an affair, which ultimately exposes the futility of her search for love and meaning. She later leaves him to avoid corrupting his purity. Romero's seriousness and traditional values make Brett realize she doesn't belong in his world. Her departure is one of the few selfless choices she makes. Despite all, Jake remains emotionally steady, accepting Brett's flaws and his unchangeable circumstances with quiet endurance. His internal pain remains deeply buried. His stoicism, however, is a form of suffering. He bears emotional weight in silence. In the midst of chaos, Jake's restraint becomes both strength and curse. The group disperses, and Jake returns to Paris, spiritually unchanged but more aware of the emptiness that permeates their lives. The cycle continues. The glamour and intoxication of their lifestyle reveal themselves as hollow distractions. Jake slips back into routine, wounded but not destroyed. Brett calls Jake for help after parting with Romero, and he comes to her side once again. Their unfulfilled love is reaffirmed in quiet resignation. Theirs is a tragic intimacy, deep connection without the possibility of fulfillment. They are both victims of a world, and a war, that altered their futures. In the final scene, Brett suggests that they could have been happy together under different circumstances. Jake's reply, "Isn't it pretty to think so?" epitomizes Hemingway's minimalist heartbreak. The line encapsulates the futility of nostalgia and the burden of acceptance. Their love story ends not with tragedy, but with painful, beautiful ambiguity. The novel explores themes of disillusionment, the search for meaning, masculinity, and the lingering trauma of war. Symbols such as bullfighting, impotence, and alcohol deepen the emotional texture of the narrative. The constant movement, from Paris to Pamplona and back, symbolizes the character's inability to find rest. And yet, in Hemingway's sparse prose, that very lack of resolution becomes its own kind of truth. This story was requested by a viewer. What books would you like to see us summarize next? Happy learning! We will catch you in the next story.